coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio in Woodstock, Georgia. This is Fearless Formula with Sharon Klein.
And welcome to Fearless Formula on Business RadioX, where we talk about the ups and downs in the business world and offer words of wisdom for business success. I'm your host, Sharon Klein, and today on the show, we have the owner of a local eatery in downtown Canton, Georgia called Bananas and Beehives, and they serve pastries and coffee and ice cream, and they just won a spot on the top 10 Atlanta Eats of Canton, which is very cool. Welcome, Laurie Sutton. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? How did it feel to win?
I don't know. It felt great. I didn't even know that was a thing until somebody sent it to me and said, "Congratulations."
The word got around. You didn't even have to do anything for it to come to you.
Right. It was awesome. So,
oh, congrats. That's great.
It made me feel good. It's always good to have a little reassurance from
the public that you didn't even have to ask for.
Right.
No, I mean, that's probably the highest compliment, I imagine.
Yes.
Well, I have been to your bakery. It's sort of a bakery, but it's kind of an ice cream place too. How about you let me know what you would describe your shop as?
So we're a small batch bakery that we also do a lot of wholesale, primarily wholesale right now. We kind of have outgrown our kitchen, so we bought a new space, and we're in the process of renovating it and turning it into a production kitchen. It won't be retail, but it'll be where we produce everything.
It's in Woodstock, right?
It is in Woodstock,
That's
so we are
exciting.
very excited. It's very centrally located to pretty much all of our customers.
So you need more space because you're growing, yes, which is like the dream.
It is. It is. It's great. It's more than what I had hoped for.
Well, you had started at, I was looking on your bio a little bit about how you really had a passion for baking, but also just like the perfect cookie. Is that what started the whole?
Right. So I'm from New Orleans, and I come from a long family of chefs and cooks, and my mom loved to cook, and she cooked for an army. And she would never let me in the kitchen to help her. But after everything was done, I could have it to bake. And so at 4 or 5 years old, that was what I knew how to do, was cookies. And I just perfected over the years. And, everyone's always told, I've always heard from everybody, do what you love. Baking is what I love. And so
that's how it all got started. So what was your perfect cookie recipe? Like, what was it that you loved to make?
Chocolate chip. Chocolate chip and pecan was my favorite.
Is that what you started here too as well when you started the bakery?
Chocolate chip and peanut butter. And so my whole idea was I was going to do croissants and cookies. And, I love croissants. I love almond croissants especially. And you can't really find a good croissant. Everything's,
factory made,
and it's just... that has no flavor or taste. And so that's what I wanted to do. I said, we need a good croissant place. And so that's what I started out. And then it kind of just, we opened in 2020, and we had to pivot a lot.
Let's just talk about the pandemic, because it affects everybody's business that's been on the show. So
right.
How did you kind of manage? What did you do right at the beginning of the pandemic? You opened.
We did. It was a challenge, but it actually kind of worked in our benefit because we weren't hit so hard in the beginning, and we had time to adjust, and we had time to realize that, hey, you might have to pivot, and this is what you need to do. And, people kept coming to us and saying, well, we like croissants and we like cookies, but can you do this and can you do that? And that kind of led into a whole, barrage of different things that we do, and we're still trying to test the limits and do different things every day.
So initially you were going to have like the croissants and the cookies, but then as the pandemic happened, you became more retail because people weren't coming into the shop.
Right. We thought as we grew and got our name out there that we'd have that organic foot traffic from being in a downtown area, and there's a lot of offices down there. Offices were shut down. There was the courthouse down there. The courthouse was shut down. So we just didn't have that foot traffic. Another reason why I wanted to open a business and do what I love doing is I wanted that community involvement. And because we didn't have that foot traffic and we didn't have the people coming in, I didn't really get that. And probably about 2 months after we opened, a friend of mine suggested I join a networking group. And we joined the networking group, and it just took off from there. And now we get that community involvement tenfold, really, because it's mostly with other business owners. And so my fears, I can see that everyone has those fears, and my accomplishments, I can see other people have those accomplishments, and I don't feel so alone.
That's awesome. It's such a power to know that you've got support in your community right there next to you. That if you were to ask someone down the street, hey, I need this help, but you know them, and they would be happy to help you.
Exactly. It's sometimes I feel like I'm dreaming.
Oh,
but
what a great story. That makes me so happy for you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So how did you come to Georgia from New Orleans then?
So I got married to a South Floridian, and we moved to South Florida in 2004. It was a huge culture shock. I don't know if you've ever been to New Orleans. Yeah, I think anywhere coming from New Orleans is just a huge culture shock. And I didn't care for South Florida. The only thing that I liked was the weather. It was very consistent. But I just didn't like it. And so my husband told his business that he wanted to transfer. And North Georgia was the first place. And his brother actually is a pilot. And he was, the hub was in Atlanta. He worked for Delta. And so he lived in Canton. And
that's how you ended up in Canton?
That's how we ended up in Canton. And we love it.
Yeah, it just unfolded for you like that.
It just unfolded like that. And we love it here. I mean, it's very similar. The people are so nice like they are in New Orleans, and we just love it here. It's more rural than there. And
Truth. And more rural than even downtown Atlanta, I imagine.
Right.
So I saw that you said you were a small batch bakery. So as you get your facility here in Woodstock open, will you become a bigger batch bakery then?
Definitely. I think we probably are more of a bigger batch bakery.
Yeah, because I was thinking you also have other items on your menu than what I just talked about. Like, right. I know you've got this incredible bread that you have that I've had before. It's really, and you do coffee all the time. Like, I think coffee and pastries and cookies sound wonderful together. But yeah, so I imagine you're really expanding so much.
We are expanding. Most people, I love dessert. I've always loved dessert. Love baking. I love the science, trying to figure out how to do it and what makes this happen or that happen. A lot of people like coffee with their dessert. I like ice cream with my dessert. And so that's why I wanted to throw the ice cream in there as well. But we get a lot of people asking us about lunch. And so when we get our new place up and running, we're going to turn the bakery into a quick lunch spot in downtown Canton. So we'll have the croissant sandwiches and the brioche sandwiches and things like that.
It's so perfect. Like you said, there's so much foot traffic right there.
Right. And the courthouse is opened up again. And so now we're seeing a lot more people. And it's definitely... We've had to pivot, and I think that's been a great learning experience for us, because neither one of us have ever owned our own business before. So we've had to learn a lot. And, I say for anybody that wants to do something, just do it. Don't worry about getting your ducks in a row, because you're never going to have them in a row. If you're doing something wrong, somebody will let you know.
Where did your name come from, Bananas and Beehives?
So I wanted something cute and catchy. I didn't want something that tied me to something, like a cake or...
like croissant place or something.
Yeah, like Laurie's Croissants or whatever. I wanted something that we could do events, because we do a lot of events, birthday parties, baby showers, both in-site and off-site, or on-site and off-site. And I used to read a lot of blogs. I used to read a lot more. I don't have time to read a whole lot anymore.
You're a business owner.
But I used to read a lot of blogs when blogs first became really big. I was big on blogs. And I read this blog that this young lady wrote about bees not liking bananas, and they get very, very unhappy if there's bananas around. And it wasn't a true story, but it was a very cute article. And one of the paragraphs started out Bananas and Beehives. And it was at that time that I was searching for a name, and I was actually trying to find a one-word name like flower or whisk, and everything was taken. And I thought, oh, wow, that's kind of cute and catchy, and I could do parties with that, And
no one
so
had it.
I looked it up, and no one had it, and I thought, yes, this is it. And so I got all the domain and the social media accounts, and then 10 years later, we opened.
But listen, that is like the American dream. Like you followed something that was inspiring for you, and now there's a whole like you have a website and a physical store, and now you'll be having expanded. And I mean, how exciting is that?
I know, and there is a little something to that. So our name has beehives in it, and so when we first opened, I didn't realize how many beekeepers there were in North Georgia. There's quite a few. And so I guess when they saw, beehives, I wonder what this is, they all came to check us out. So there is a little bit of truth to bananas and beehives. So bees can be temperamental, and if they're unhappy, they release a pheromone, and it smells just like bananas. And that is true. I did research that, and but it has nothing to do with our name. I found that out after we were opened by a couple of beekeepers.
So now you have some trivia. You can win a big contest with that one.
I know. Useless knowledge, but
that's all my brain has in there.
Mine too.
Well, so I know that you said that you were going to be doing lunch, but now you're going to be opening 5 days a week. So how does that impact your life? Because if you're busy now, what do you hire more people? How will you manage it?
So at the moment, as crazy as this may sound, it is just my husband and I. We have done everything. My parents do come in and help. When I do events, sometimes I grab my daughter and make her come with me. She's a school teacher, so she's available a lot of the times that my events are going on. We don't have the room to hire anybody right now. We're kind of tripping over each other.
Yeah, I can imagine it.
And so once we have that production kitchen and we turn our current space into just a lunch space, we'll have more room. And so at that point, yes, we're going to hire people, and then we probably won't be there much.
Yeah.
is my plan.
You're going to take a break?
No, we'll be at the production kitchen.
But that's awesome, because think about, like, this is such confirmation that it was needed in this area, that that what you're making is desirable and successful, and you're growing. I mean, that's the dream for sure.
Yes, definitely. I remember I used to make things, for friends and family, and everybody would tell me how good it is, and you should open up something. And I always thought, are they just telling me that? Your friends, they have to tell you it's good.
They want you to bring things over more.
I remember one of my friends, I remember her, when I told her that we rented a space and we were opening a bakery, she says, oh no, I'm going to get huge now.
Oh, you're not going to bake just for them?
Right.
But that's great.
So, yeah.
Where do you get your recipes? Like, how did you kind of perfect things? Like, I've seen croissants being made or in the process of being made, and they're labor intensive.
The croissants, yes, they're very labor intensive. It used to take me 3 days to make them, and now I can do them in pretty much in 1 day. I make the dough.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all day from like wake up to nighttime. It's an all day process. As far as the recipes go, I've just kind of, I've lived in 3 states now, and the humidity and the climate is slightly different in all 3, and that affects baking a lot. And so, so I've just had to learn how to make those adjustments. And as far as the recipes go, if you know what to use and when to use and how much to use, that's just kind of a natural thing. It's the ingredients. The ingredients is what makes what you're eating. If you don't use good ingredients, you can have the best recipe and it's not going to matter. So it's the ingredients that matter.
What kind of ingredients would you say is worth investing in?
You get what you pay for. Like you use a good butter, use a good vanilla, use a good flour. Know what kind of flour to use depending on what you're making. And but yeah, it's definitely. You mean the brands? Oh, the brand. So the brands I use Plugra, which is a European butter, or any European butter. You want it to be a high butter fat content.
I had no idea that European butter was like that.
Yeah.
This is important. Butter's important, so I like
butter
to know
is
these things.
especially in croissants. I mean,
That's all butter.
It's all butter. It's layers of butter and dough, and
So interesting. European butter is what, opposed to,
as far as vanilla goes, I use a very good vanilla, very expensive vanilla. I use Nielsen Massey's Madagascar bourbon, and I mean those things make a huge difference. So you like I said, you get what you pay for, and you can taste it.
What are your top sellers? If someone were new and wanted to come to your shop and kind of get some of the most popular items, what would they be?
So probably we sell a lot of croissants, and then cookies, and then bars. Those are probably our top 3 sellers. We do sell a lot of bread. What I get the compliments most on are the croissants and the cookies. I do. I hear so much that our croissants are better than the ones that they've had in Paris. And I keep telling my husband, we need to go to Paris because I've never been to Paris and I need to see about these croissants in Paris.
You just got to hire some people and then head out for a while.
I know. So.
Well, so what has been the most rewarding part of having your business? Like, what drives you? Makes you the happiest?
Making other people happy, and when I sell something to somebody or give something to somebody, because we do give away a lot, and I see the joy in their face or the happiness, and they say how this is great or call us, and we get phone calls from people. Just making people happy. Does it for us.
Aw. But you also, what I like about your business, and I had looked online a little bit, that you are involved in lots of different kinds of organizations, but also events. And I think that's really important too. You support each other. But can you talk a little bit about the events that you tend to support?
We pretty much support almost anybody that comes to us and asks us for their support. We try to be as helpful. We want that community involvement. And, so usually whatever they ask for, we pretty much try to accommodate. And we wanted that community involvement and to be able to give back.
I know a lot of companies don't, so I think that's really impressive. And I think if more companies knew what it felt like to really give back, they would do more.
Yeah, it does. It's that in itself is just rewarding.
So would you say that you have something that's sort of been the biggest surprise of opening your own business? What's been the most surprising aspect of it?
The fact that I'm working 24 hours a day.
That's something I was going to ask you about is the balance. Because we talk about this on the show all the time, work-life balance when you're a business owner. How do you do it?
It's hard. It's hard. We're almost 3 years in now, and I'm still trying to figure that out, that balance. One of the things that we did, we were talking early last year, probably about a year ago now, we can't go on like this. We have to figure something out. We have to move to a bigger place, buy a place, and we kept getting more and more wholesale accounts. And we thought, maybe we'll and people kept coming to us wanting to rent our kitchen. And I thought maybe we should just buy a space and turn it into a production kitchen. And so when people say, well, how do you balance? I say, well, you just start a new business. And it kind
Which is counterintuitive.
Right. It kind of sounds counterintuitive or counterproductive, but it's actually going to help us because it'll be a bigger space so that we can hire people to do what we do. We'll have more ovens, more refrigeration, and just a bigger prep area because our biggest problem right now is time and prep area. We do not have enough prep area. And it's one of the reasons why we kind of cut back our walk-in hours to do our wholesale accounts because we are just spread out all over the shop when we're doing these orders. And so
it's crazy to think that you had started thinking that it would be more of a walk-in kind of like sit down and have coffee and pastries in your shop, but it's actually become something so much different.
It has. I tell people that we opened in 2020 in the height of the beginning of the pandemic, and we quickly had to take a left turn. from there.
Well, if you're just joining us, I'm speaking to Laurie Sutton, who is the owner of Bananas and Beehives in downtown Canton. So what would you say is like a misconception that you think is in your industry? Is there anything that you'd like to address that you think people don't know about what it's like?
I don't know.
Oh, good. I did a stumping kind of question. Well, I was thinking that, I'm assuming that people don't know like the ingredients list. Like, I don't know that I appreciate you pointing that out, because how would I know that I'm even having something that's actually extra special,
right?
Bourbon kind of vanilla or flour or incredible butter. I wouldn't know to even appreciate that. It tastes really great, but I love that you kind of talk about how much you think about the back end of it.
Right.
I don't think that I had an appreciation for that. So
yeah, I guess that is kind of a big misconception that people don't, and it's probably why a lot of people don't bake. You have a lot more cooks than you have a lot more restaurants than you have bakeries. But yeah, I mean, even with restaurants, it's the ingredients that you use and that definitely make it. And yeah, a lot of people just think butter is butter,
exactly.
But it's not.
Because if I try to make a croissant, it's not going to be the same.
Right.
It
takes a lot of love also.
You put love in your croissants and patience.
Love and patience. Yeah, I think back to when I first, because before we opened the bakery, I had never made a croissant before. I made a lot of desserts, but I had never made a croissant. Just the thought of rolling out dough for hours at a time. And so I did a lot of research, and the first thing we did was bought a sheeter. We run the dough through.
Oh, right. Oh,
and so that definitely is time saving. And, but yeah, just the thought process and stuff, which is probably why a lot of people don't do it. But any advice that I have for anybody wanting to get out there and bake is buy good ingredients. It makes a difference.
Interesting, because I don't know that I even have good ingredients. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Of course, I don't bake for anyone else really, but I would want it to be amazing. Mm-hmm. So, and you take pride in it, obviously, in your products.
Well, another thing that we're going to do in the production kitchen is something we wanted to do in the shop is hold classes, like how to make croissant classes and how to make sourdough classes and things like that. And we never were able to bring that to fruition in the shop because it just wasn't big enough. The kitchen was too small, and but we'll have a lot more room, and so it'll be a learning kitchen as well.
Oh, that's so smart.
And for anyone else, if you want to come and give a cooking class, you are more than welcome.
No, I will take a cooking class. I don't bake for people who really care about the results.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm
so
sure
far.
you do fine.
I love baking, but it's interesting how I don't really want to have 1,000 baked goods around because I'll eat them all. Like, how do you ever get tired? Like, are you like, no, I don't need a croissant because I'm in them all day long. But is that something that you're sort of you don't really feel the need to eat any of these things? Like people who are in coffee shops, they probably don't need to be drinking coffee all day because they're in it all day.
Right. Definitely, I don't. I can't even taste test anymore. I live on a wing and a prayer. Before we opened, when I was baking here and there at home or for friends or whatever, I did eat I had my go-tos. I loved almond croissants. I loved cookies, especially chocolate chip. I mean, I can eat chocolate chip and a milkshake any day. But now that I'm around it all the time, and now that we're getting busier and busier and busier, and the quantities are getting up and up and up, and I can't keep up with the quantities, or I'm having trouble keeping up with them, I can't eat it. My go-to food is Mexican, and I keep telling my husband, I know this has nothing to do with anything, but I keep telling him I need to go get a job in a Mexican restaurant because maybe then I won't crave it 5 times a day. Yeah. But if you're around something every day, I think that it kind of,
get desensitized or whatever.
Right. Definitely.
I need to work in a chocolate place then. I think something like that. Well, baked goods in general.
Do you want to give up chocolate though?
I don't. Yes, I think for a short period, it'd probably do me good. What do you do for marketing?
For marketing, well, so we've tried a little bit of everything. We've been in quite a few magazines, the local magazines, Family Life and Enjoy Cherokee and things like that. We've also been in some neighborhood magazines.
Got you.
We've done social media. We've done Facebook and Instagram, things like that. I can't remember anything else that we've done. We haven't done any marketing lately. The last thing we did was Family Life.
Okay. But it's obvious that you don't really need to exactly because you have done so much in the community. Right? Because that definitely.
I tell anyone now that's looking to start a business, just do it. You can research for years. I mean, I've been wanting to do this for a very long time without saying my age. A very long time. You can research all you want, and you're never going to figure it out until you jump in the pool and start swimming. But that's the first advice. Just do it. And, you'll figure out what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong and what people want and what they don't want. And the second piece of advice, right on up there with the first piece of advice, is network. I mean, that changed it for us. Our very first network meeting, we were approached about wholesale, and that had never crossed my mind. And I thought, okay, sure, we can do that. And then it took them actually, I think, 2 or 3 more times until they finally showed up at our shop and said, we would like you to wholesale for us.
Wow. And where do you wholesale?
So our very first customer, that one, was at Reformation, which we truly love. They were a godsend to us, and we still wholesale to them. We also wholesale to Alma Coffee, Jack's Coffee, Bazaar Coffee, Whitetail Coffee, Woodstock Beer Market, Circle of Friends, Reeves House. I think we have about 17 wholesale customers right now that are actively, and we have 2 more that we just got. Black Rifle Coffee,
yes.
And I'm trying to think, I don't want to leave anybody out.
That's okay.
I think we have 17 now that we actively do on a weekly basis. But yeah, it all started with Reformation, and I just remember when we first got our license, before we started
really baking,
before we even opened our doors, when they came and did our first inspection and everything. I remember her asking if we were going to do wholesale, and I said, no, why would we do wholesale? We have a retail shop. And that we had to quickly change our license after we started that. And it's changed everything, and for the better. We love it. And so, but definitely I my best piece of advice is, market yourself, of course, with, Radio X and Business RadioX, mm-hmm. and magazines, local magazines and stuff, but network. That's how you're going to get your name out there. And I mean, it definitely helped us and put us in a whole new,
a whole new
place.
A different direction completely.
Yeah.
So you said you love it so much. So what is it like being working with your husband, all the time? Because I wonder what that would have been like for me if I had the same scenario. Would I be like super happy or not super happy?
It's a challenge. I'm not going to say it's not. It's definitely a challenge. But we finally have come to a place where we can work together. I probably just need to trust him a little bit more.
Well, I had someone on the show recently that talked about how their partner has so many strengths that they don't have, and it just really balances out so nicely.
Absolutely. Yes, he does. He definitely, mine is the creative. I'm the
think outside the box.
Yeah, I'm the creative. I'm what you see in the shop. I'm all of that. And he's more of the behind the scenes. He kind of fills in where I need help. He does bake. And by baking, I mean put it in the oven.
That's important.
That is very important. It's a very important thing to do. But he's the financial guy, and so he's the one who's made this dream of mine happen.
Who would have thought, right?
I know. Who would have thought? So, but yeah, it definitely is challenging. But you come to a place where you say, okay, this is my lane, this is your lane, mm-hmm. This is when we can mix lanes.
And you complement each other that way. Do you ever go to some of the places where you wholesale and see your things?
Well, every time we deliver.
Yeah. I mean, like if you've ever gone to Black Rifle or whatever, or I don't know, any of the coffee places, and you're like, oh, there's our stuff.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Absolutely. We have, and it's kind of come back to us also. We have people that see our stuff or have our stuff, eat our stuff in other places, and they come and check us out. Oh, you really are here. Because we have our address and everything on each package. And so, or they'll say, oh, we wanted this, but they didn't have it, so we just came to see if you had it or something like that. So we get that a lot, and it's nice. It's nice because, obviously, your products are selling because they keep ordering more, but you wonder who's buying them. And so we do get to see that sometimes.
That's so cool. And I think how neat it is that you have a physical store that people can talk about years from now. Oh, I walked by here when I was a little kid, and here it is. It's just neat that you're part of now a community and a history.
And we love that. We love being part of the community, and the community has been so welcoming to us. It's awesome.
So is there anything, the show being Fearless Formula, is there anything that you're not afraid of anymore?
Oh, everything I'm afraid of.
Me too.
I don't know that I'll never not be afraid of anything.
I'm laughing because I told you before the show started that sometimes I'm like, they changed the passcode for me to get in here because they figured it out that I'm not even supposed to be in this building or something. Like I have irrational fear. But no, seriously, like it's something I think about is, what if this all falls apart or what if it ends?
I have most of my fears are irrational. Yeah, I feel that too. Every time I make a delivery, I think, oh, what if they don't like it, or what if I did something wrong, or did I forget the sugar, or
But you do it anyway, right? But look how you're still doing it anyway. Like,
yes,
I suppose they haven't kicked me out of here yet.
I think that once, like I said before, once you jump into the pool, you have to swim, and so I think that's what I'm still trying to do. Just stay alive and. And
watch it grow.
And be helpful and just try to be involved. And I would love to get more involved. I don't always know the right avenues to take. But you look, it's like sometimes things are coming to you as well,
right. Which is so cool. Well, it's so exciting. How can people come see you or get in touch with you if they want to?
So they can call us at the shop. They can email us. They can message us on social media,
right?
Facebook,
like I did.
Or yes, like you did. They can come to the shop. Yeah. We would love to meet anyone. Everyone that walks through our door, we say, "Have you been here before?"
Yeah, you ask their story.
We ask their story.
They can hear your story.
Yeah. So it's been fun to get to know people, and you get that clientele that just comes back. And we have so many now that they don't stay. They just call and they say, hey, we need this. Can we pick it up on Thursday? And so we do a lot of that. Wow. And even though we're only open a few days a week, we are there 7 days a week, pretty much almost around the clock. And, and we take orders, not just wholesale orders. So we do orders also. Yeah, so stop by, say hi. We would love to meet you.
Well, Laurie, thank you so much for coming onto the show. It's been so nice to chit chat with you and kind of hear your backstory. And now I feel like I can have an appreciation for what I'm eating when I'm there.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And thank you all for listening to Fearless Formula on Business Radio X. And again, this is Sharon Klein reminding you that with knowledge and understanding, we can all have our own fearless formula. Have a great day.